what's up? It's Scott the Frozen Gamer here, coming at you with another review. What? 2 reviews back to back? Whoa, that's crazy after months off. No, I'm just happy to get back in reviews, happy to have my life's pattern change a little bit here, that I can get these more complex videos up for you guys. And today's review is going to be, boom, Alpine Trails by Nate and Jake Jenny of Last Night Games. And it's a game for 1 to 5 players. I have played it multiplayer and solo. It takes 20 to 30 minutes. That is about right. And it says 10 plus for the age. And that might just be for components wise, because I played this with my 7-year-old who played the game and had no problem playing the game. And we'll talk more about that in the review. So let's see it on the table and see how this game plays. So this is everything you'll need for a 2-player game of Alpine Trails. Now the 1-player game to the 5-player game, they all play very similar. So I'll show you what is slightly different for some of them here and how I set it up a little bit differently. But for the actual setup of the game, all you really need per player is one of these starting tiles, these kind of your home camp area. And everyone's going to be slightly different here. As you can see, like this one has a marsh here, where this one has a forest, marsh, mountain, mountain, marsh. Then these two both end up having the meadows on the right side. And then everyone gets their own private scoring bonus. So this one says +1 additional point per lake in your camp that you make at the end. And this one's +1 every mountain tile that you have, or mountain symbol you have next to a waterfall, will get you +1 points. So this player is going to be going for a waterfall strategy. This player is just going to be simply trying to get lakes at the end of the game. Now the rest of the stuff you'll kind of push out. This is all kind of storage stuff that you'll have on the side of the game. This just shows you what animals relate to what type of, if it's a forest, a meadow, marsh, or mountain. So you put those there. You only need as many animals out per players. So you kind of just do that, have 2 animals out per player, and then we just move that to the side. This is the bag of tiles you'll be drawing from throughout the game. This nice Alpine Trails bag. So you just fill that up with the appropriate amount of tiles, which is different for every player count. These are your waterfall tiles and your camp tiles. And those are double-sided with lakes. If I can reach it, lakes on the back of each of those tiles. So here's camp, and there's a lake, and as you can see, there's a waterfall there. On the back of those is a lake as well, but you just kind of have those off on the side. These are little road signs for when you have T's in the road. You put one of these down. They really don't do anything other than make your game board look a little prettier. And then these purple things are tents that you put out. You'll put out one of these tents every time you build a camp. And we'll go over all that shortly. But you can move all of those out to the side because you don't need them for the actual game space of the game. So on your turn of the game, you simply take 2 tiles randomly from the bag. And you look at them. They're going to have 2 sides, and they're going to be different on each side. So this side has a landscape side, in this case, marshes or mountain. And this side has path sides, in this case, a mountain and a meadow path. And on those paths, you can see how many miles worth of path each one is. So that's a 3-mile path, and this is a 1-mile path with a T on it. And this is a great tile to have pulled because I'll show you the T right away and how those work. So on your turn, you can decide which side you want to play. And what you want to do is group them by landscape type as much as possible, because at the end of the game, you'll score points based off of how many your biggest group of landscapes are. So maybe for this one, I want to use this T just so I get a lot of different options right off the bat. So I will place it anywhere on this board in any direction I want. And maybe I'll put it right like this. And because I played a T, and that's a kind of a powerful tile to play, my opponent gets to take the appropriate animal from that landscape. So in this case, it's a wolf, and they get to put it on any marsh tile that's just landscape. It can't have a path on it. So they have to have the landscape that is marsh. This is mountain, but if they get a marsh tile, they can put this wolf on top of it. They don't have that right now because the game just started, so they're just going to hold this on the side of their player board. And as soon as they get a landscape that's marsh, again, not mountain, but marsh, they'll be able to put that onto that tile. And that will score them points at the end of the game. So maybe I'll put that one there. And then here I've got a rock, but I don't have any rocks in my base camp area. So maybe I just want to start rocks up, the mountains up, and I'll put 2 rocks right here on the landscape side. And then after it's my turn, then my opponent goes. And they grab 2 tiles from the bag. And they do the same thing. Now they got 2 mountains for both their landscapes, and then they got a 2-mile meadow or a 2-mile forest. So maybe they want to do their 2-mile meadow here, and then they want to get their rocks built up, their mountains built up, so they just put that mountain landscape down as well. And then it goes back to my turn again, and I draw 2 tiles. I got this option of 2 meadow, 1 meadow with a path, a T meadow, T in the row meadow, or a meadow here. So maybe I just want to build up my meadows a little bit, and I go like this and put my 2 meadows here. I don't want to play this T again because I don't want to give them another animal. You can only have 1 animal per terrain type, and they already got the wolf that they'll eventually put on their board once they get that marsh landscape placed. But so instead I'll play my landscape of my meadow, put it right here on my thing, and now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 meadow points for my endgame scoring. And then it would be their turn again. And we look at theirs again, and they draw some more paths. Here they go, they got their meadow tile, so they'll put their meadow down here, and now they can finally put their wolf onto the meadow. And then here they want to get that path longer, or another path started maybe of forest. They don't have any forest going yet, so maybe they'll put their forest right here. And you keep going until all the tiles are out of the game. So let me kind of show you what it looks like at the end of the game, and I'll show you how camps come into play and how waterfalls come into play, as well as I build out one of the boards. Actually, before I do that, let me talk about just tile paths a little bit and how the paths, the placement rules on them. You can place it anywhere where there's an open path, except you cannot block off paths. So I couldn't place this here because that blocks off, that doesn't connect to an already path. It doesn't matter if it's on a different terrain type, like I can play this mountain onto the marsh. I can play this path of this meadow connecting into mountain. That's all fine. You want to try to get the paths as close to possible so you can, eventually I could build in a rock landscape here, and then I'd have 2, 3, 4, 5 rock landscapes just in this area. So you want to do that when building paths, and you want to get those paths built as long as you can, because the longest path at the end of the game will score you points. So now I will go out and build out more of the board so you can kind of see how everything works. Let's say this is what my board looks like so far, and then I pulled this tile as one of my 2 tiles, and I put it right here. I have now just made a full loop. So what I can do is grab a waterfall tile. This automatically gives me a free waterfall tile to add to my landscape of my camp area. So I grab a waterfall tile, and when you place a waterfall tile, you get a point for every tile that's around it, no matter what the tile is. So right now it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points at the end of the game if that's how it finished. But here's a perfect spot. I made this loop with a perfect spot right here to put it in, and I have actually completed that, so that will be a perfect 8 points at the end of the game. Now I will further build out so you can see more of the game. Let's say I've got my board to look like this right now, and I just pulled this tile here that has 2 miles on it. I already have 5 miles here, so I can place this here, and since now I have 7 miles of forest, I have 7 miles of forest path right here, all in one path that isn't a loop. It just goes out to nothing right now. Because it's more than 6, what I can do is I could have placed that tile there. My second tile I drew, I can just get rid of it, throw it in the box. It's out of play. And instead, I play this camp tile here like that. And then you put a camp there on top of it, a purple tent on top of it. So this ends this path. This path is now closed off, except you can build off this camp, but it would be starting a new path in any of those directions. But this will score me 8 points at the end of the game for having that campsite there. So if you can complete these and getting 6 miles or more to a campsite, that's really good for high scoring at the end of the game. Now here I already have 7 miles here, but I'm purposely not playing that up yet because I want to grow this to be my longest path, so I'm keeping that one going and not putting a campsite in it quite yet. So let's say everyone's played and the bag's completely run out, and that triggers the end of the game. What we do is we look at every path that doesn't end in anything right now. It just ends off the board. And we complete that path by putting a lake out at the end of the game, and those lakes are going to give us a little bit of bonus points. So I got a lake there, I get a lake here. Oops, I put it this way if we want to keep it thematic. I got a lake here, and I get a lake way over here. Now every path is closed off by either doing a loop, ending in a lake, or coming to a campsite. And we'll show you a quick overview of what that looks like overhead. So from here, we're going to add up our scores. So the first thing we're going to do is check all of our landscapes. So forest, we just count up how many forest symbols are in each of our biggest landscape of forest. Now mine ended up being almost perfect, where I have all my forests here, all my meadows here, all my mountains here, and all my marshes here, and all my meadows here, minus this one random marsh that's there. So mine came out to be easy, but maybe I'll have multiple forests throughout the board, and you just count your biggest one. So here I have 2, 3, 4, 5, and remember to count your base camp board too, so 6 forests, so I get 6 points for that. Then I count up meadows. 1, actually this one doesn't connect to anything because I have a lake there, so this one doesn't count. So we got, actually it does count, sorry. This one will count because of base camp. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 meadows. Then we check out marsh, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 marsh. And then mountains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 mountains. Then you check out waterfalls. I only had one waterfall because I only made one loop, and it is right here. So I get 1 point for each tile around the waterfall. As we mentioned earlier, I have a perfect 8 there, so 8 points for my waterfalls. So then we check lakes. I've got 4 lakes set up here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Each of those is going to be times 2, so 8 points for lakes. Then we check campsites, and I have 1 campsite, 2 campsites, and 3 campsites. And each of those are 8 points, so 24 points. Then we check animals. Now my opponent didn't use many T crossings like I did too. I only used 1 there. My opponent only used 1, and I got 1 animal, so that's 2 points for animals. It's because each animal is worth 2 points. Then we check our longest trail, which mine, I believe, is right down here. It's 3 miles, 5 miles, that's 8 miles, 10 miles, 12 miles, so I get 12 points, 1 point per mile. And then I check my personal bonus, which is 1 additional point per lake. And I had 4 lakes, so that's 4 additional points. I add that all up, and that is my final score. And it will look something like this. And in this game, we actually had a really close final score of 100 to 95 to 94 at the end of the game. And that is basically everything you need to know about how to play Alpine Trails. Welcome back, everyone. So let's talk about what my thoughts are for Alpine games again by last night games. So Alpine Trails, let's start out with the theme. The theme of the game is building up this campsite through this mountainous landscape through tile laying. And it's a very peaceful theme, and it's very peaceful when you play. You just kind of put out 2 tiles, then it goes to the next person's turn, then it goes to the next person's turn. And it's really this peaceful game where no one really interferes with each other. Actually, the only player interaction in the game, really other than drawing a tile that someone else might need, is that you can actually benefit them by playing a fork in the road. If you play a fork in the road, they get an animal, and that gives them 2 points at the end of the game. The map of the game ends up looking very peaceful at the end of the game as well. You just have this beautiful landscape. The components of the game are nice. So here we have our component quality of the tiles. They're not horribly thick, like very thick, but they're not they're not too thin either. They're nice quality. I'm not going to be able to bend these easily at all. This is perfect. This is a light game, so it's not like we need these like super thick tiles to do it. That's just going to add up cost in the game. So this works perfectly in my opinion. The wood components are nice. It's funny because these road signs, again, do nothing in the game other than make your map look prettier at the end of the game. The tents are important because they actually help you count your points at the end of the game, and same with the animals. And the animals all look nice as well. And then you have this beautiful landscape as well. Just from the artwork is great. The graphic design is really nice in the game as well, because you got these little symbols on there. The marsh symbol, come on, baby. There we go. We got the marsh symbol there and the rock symbols there, and they help you add and count really easily. They're very clean to read. They're very nice. So nice graphic design on the game as well. Let's go into the actual gameplay of Alpine Trails. And this is a light game. I played this with my 7-year-old son and he picked it up right away. I played it with my wife and she loved it because it was simple enough that she could play the game and not have to worry about a huge rules overhead as well. So this is a light game. It's in the similar weight as, I would say, Carcassonne for a tile layer game. If you know Carcassonne, without the farms though. So you take base Carcassonne, no farms, and that's kind of the weight that you got here. If you're playing Cascadia or Harmonies or anything like that, that's going to, for a tile laying game, that's going to be a step higher, definitely in complexity than Alpine Trails. This is a actually a very light tile laying game. So just know that going into it. And some of the stuff I love about the game though is that it's very balanced. That's something that they did Panda Royale as well. That you can kind of see right here. And that is, they balance their games great. So like my son went, in the game I played with him, went really big in camps. He had 32 points in camps. I had 0 points in camps, but I got points back in other places that he wasn't able to go to because he went big in these big 8-point camps, 8 point per camp section. So he ended up only winning by 5 points. So everything kind of balanced out well. Your bonus card, what you're going for, I was going for in the example here, 1 extra point per lake. Sometimes you get 1 extra point per every rock tile that you have. Those kind of balance out well. They're not like crazy different from each other. They're similar, but enough to give you enough variety throughout playing. There's tons of them as well. So you can have new ones all the time when you're playing and having different variety as you play the game more and more often. I love how you... Oh, I made a mistake in the final scoring. I just realized that. When you score your longest path at the end of the game, you only score your longest out and back path. So that's a hard thing to say, out and back path. So I, in my example, scored my circle path, that loop that gave me a waterfall. That doesn't count. It has to be an out and back path for your longest one. So that one wouldn't count. I'd have to go and score a different one for my end of the game. And I love the way that the miles work out on it. They're very easy to read it, and I love how that gives you different points for your longest path at the end of the game and how it can lead to campsites as you get 6+ on those. And then you have that decision of, should I keep trying to build this path out to get more points for longest path, or should I end it with that campsite? And then for all those broken paths where you add the lake at the end, that's just a nice touch too, and definitely makes it look prettier having no broken paths at the end of the game where they just go off to your table. Everything ends nicely into something else when you finish the game up. So in the end, this is like a super simple game, right? It's very light, it's very easy, but there are some choices that you have to make of. I love the double-sided tiles, so you have to decide, am I just gonna play this for a landscape, or am I gonna try to build more paths? And it gives you choices that way. It gives you choices about ending the path, as I said, with camps or keeping it going, and where you're gonna place stuff. A lot of it is kind of intuitive of, I'm gonna try to keep these landscapes together and not have landscapes all over the place. So I'm going to focus this path over here instead of over here. But I think it works great for who I think this game is for. This game is not going to be for a game that you're going to pull out with your heavy gamers, because there's just other tile laying games that are a more higher complexity for those type of gamers. But this is a great game for families, for my son, for my wife that doesn't play games. If I go out and on a family vacation with like my extended family, some of them do play games, but they don't love the super heavy games that like a lot of them on my shelf over back there, not my kids' side, but my side of the shelf over here. They're not going to play those games. They're never going to touch those games. But this game is a great game that they will be able to touch and that they will be able to play and understand and just have a good time with. So this is, again, the type, I said this with Panda Royale. If you watch my review for Panda Royale, I said it for that game, and I'm going to say it for this game. This is a game that should be in Target. This is a game that is a light enough game that you can go in there and just buy it as a gift for a kid, or for your kid, for a holiday or a birthday party or whatever, or you could give it to a friend for a birthday party, one of your kids' friends for a birthday party, and this will get people, or if you're just not a gamer and you just want like something new and interesting that's not like a lot of the mass market games out there, but is still light enough that it can play as light as any of those mass market games, this is a great game for that. And this is a game, instead of like Monopoly or Life, this is a game that's going to get people into gaming more, and eventually will start to go down the road of these heavier games here. This is a game that's going to make you want to explore more and more games, and this is why I just wish this game, and game Panda Royale and other games by Last Night Games. And this is not me saying this because I got a review copy of the game. I just absolutely love this company. I reached out to them to get this review copy of the game because I love this company for this style of game. And I think these type of games need to be promoted more within our hobby, because these games are what is going to cause gamers to play more of these games. These games are just as important as those games are, and I love it. And I love that I can just pull this out and play it with all these different people that don't play games with me, and they're gonna enjoy it and have a good time with it. And this one is just a nice, relaxing version of those type of games. I highly recommend it for families and for and just as gifts for kids. That will get them into more gaming as they get older and stuff like that. I think this is just a high quality game. I really do love Last Night Games and what they provide to this industry. I've only played their 2 games here, but these games, I really, really are digging them. And this is just another great one for the collection. And that is Alpine Trails, Last Night Games, Nate and Jake Jenny, who are the owners of Last Night Games. And man, they are making me love this little company that they have going for them. So that is it. And just to put it out there again, I'm going nuts over this game. This isn't a game I would pull out with my gaming friends. It just isn't, because it's too light for them. But again, for the crowd that I think it's for, man, I wish this game was in Target. I wish it was in Barnes & Noble. I wish this was just a well-known mass market game. So that's it. Now I'm done here. That's it. Peace. Stay cool. Till next time. Enjoy a nice, calm day.